You're hot.
I don't know about you.
You're hot. It's up.
We're live.
Oh shit.
Wait, you got to turn me on. Give me more love. Make me louder. Make me louder. Am I loud?
I hear you.
All right, good. We're good? Q, make me louder. I can't hear me.
Hold on. What about now?
Test. No. It sounds like shit. Bueller? Anyone?
What the hell do we do?
Q, tell him it's just him. I sound great.
Is it me?
What the hell, man?
Did Rory screw it up? It's just... Hang on. You fucked me.
What in the hell?
All right. No, that's great.
What about now?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
You here now?
All right, so we're live.
Jesus
We're live.
Christ,
Are we live, Q?
that was
Say it.
fucking
You have to say
terrible.
it. You're gonna
We're
fuck.
live. That was horrible.
All right, we're live.
Now John's way too loud in my ear. Q, turn him down, please. No, I'm kidding.
So wait, I gotta hype this. I gotta hype you. You can't get into it like we're old buddies.
Okay.
So
I don't even know you.
I don't even know you. How dare you? Anyway, so special. I want to thank everybody. I want to thank the sales team, everybody over Kvar, kvar.com. Go visit Kvar. Everybody, this is a spectacular episode. I'm gonna absolutely blow everybody's mind. We're gonna get into the NFL. We're gonna get into AB. I have the one and only. We've been friends long enough for me to say this. I got the one and only. The man from a dead position. I know because I played it. It's a dead position.
Make fullbacks great again.
Make fullbacks. It's unbelievable. We can make millions.
There you go.
Someone already has it.
Yeah. I got the one and only Heath Evans.
Definitely the one and only. We don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
It's a good thing.
Yeah.
Now, we've had an Alabama guy on. Now we got an Auburn guy.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. So we're covering all the bases. We talked college football. Now we can get into some pro football. We can talk about some weightlifting. We can talk about some training. We can talk about some America.
Just don't mention that Auburn thing. I might have to cut your mic off.
I know.
Hey, listen, I'll praise Bama harder than Alabama.
I'm on the Mind Bullets. I'm on the Monsters. I'm ready to go. Thank you, Mark Bell. We're all high here. This is fucking great. So, all right, let's get into this. This is really unique because we can talk about so many things with you. We could talk about the NFL. We could talk about training. We could talk about your journey. I want to get into this first because we talked about it a little bit on the other side. You have a really cool story in the sense that you played a dead position legitimately. You came up through the NFL as a fullback, came up through Auburn, and you worked with one of my favorite people, and I consider a mentor from afar, Bill, and had the opportunity to win a Super Bowl in New Orleans. Take me through your journey because this is, you came from Florida, went to Auburn, you hook on with New England. You really never should have made it.
Thanks, John.
You really never should have made it.
Q,
you
ready to go to lunch? Because this is horrible.
Because fullback is
I saw his face. He was like, "Oh, what the fuck?"
Fullback is a dead. He knows what I'm talking about. Fullback is a dead position.
Just die.
It's a dead spot. And I played a little bit of it. I know what he's going through. I was never at Auburn, but went to the University of Massachusetts.
I can see it in your neck that you played fullback, or the lack thereof.
I can see it in your girth. So take me through it. How do you get from Florida to Auburn and then the NFL? How does that all happen?
Well, I thought I was going to Florida State. And then at the last second, they're like, we're going to put you on defense. And then I'm like, no, you're not. So then I end up at Auburn. You want to hear a cool story about my first trip to Auburn? So Rodney Allison was my running back coach. And I didn't know Rodney. When I'm on my recruiting trip, I walk into his office. And he's like, can you read, boy? And I'm like, just like that, too, boy.
I say that to Q every morning.
Well, I'm like, yes, sir, I can. He said, well, read that whiteboard to me. And on the whiteboard, he had written in a dry erase marker, better off to have died as a small child than fumble the football. And he's like,
damn.
Do you believe that, boy? I'm like, I do now. He's like, good, we're going to get along great. So my first experience at Auburn was with Rodney Allison telling me I should have died as a small child if I had come there to fumble the football. My Auburn story was a bunch of up and downs. When you say that I shouldn't have made it, like literally, if you look at my college roadmap, you'd be like, man, how are you the first fullback?
It was like 600 yards on 9,000 carries.
Oh, see, there you go. He can't read. He can't read.
You do realize, Heath, I'm going to say that shit every morning. You read, boy?
No, but you got to say it. You got to say it like you have to say it like Mr.
Boy?
T. Hey, woman. Hey, woman. You can't read.
Yeah. So listen, I had Terry Bowden my first year at Auburn. Balled out my freshman year. He gets fired. Tommy Tuberville comes in. He hates me. I barely play my junior my sophomore and junior year. But they tell me, hey, you'll be the first fullback drafted if you leave early. So I leave early. I go in the 2001 draft, run well, do the combine well, get drafted, Seattle for 4 years, and then I get to New England with your boy. I almost didn't make it after 4 years in Seattle because Mike Holmgren wanted me to be something that I wasn't or that I couldn't be. I got to Bill Belichick, and he's like, hey, listen, this is the fullback we want. You're kind of a tailback in a fullback's body, so start using all your athleticism, your vision to be this type of fullback. And he told me what I could be. He kept me in that box, and then I thrived for 4 years, went to New Orleans, won a ring with them, and rode off into the sunset after 10 years.
You know, I got to say it. I have to ask it, actually. You blocked and ran with some awesome dudes.
Yeah.
Was Sean Alexander the best?
He was. Yeah, Sean was a inside the 20-yard line. I know it's blasphemous. People are like, what about Walter Payton, Barry Sanders, and yada, yada, yada. Inside the 20-yard line, there's never been a better running back than Sean Alexander.
Did he have the hardest drop off though? People talk about that. Like, did he because he kind of was like the best of the best, and then poof.
This is where you land, the opportunities you get, public perception. This Joker destroyed the NFL.
Destroyed it.
He gets 2005 league MVP, gets paid, has a little break in his hand, but he still averaged over 4 yards a carry that year. He just had to go on IR. All right. Then the next year has a little break in his foot. Still averaged over 4 yards a carry. Was still a touchdown machine. And then he goes to they cut him. He goes to the Redskins. Snyder, the owner there, was in love with Clinton Portis at the time. Jim Zorn was never really allowed to give Sean his break because Sean would have far outperformed Clinton Portis. He was healthy, but then it's like, oh, well, Sean must be washed up because he's not getting any turn, and then no one would sign him after that. So he goes from 2005 league MVP, a couple like no-brainer injuries that should have never been an issue, and then it was just it was a wrap. But Sean, monster of all monsters, pass game, run game, vision, balance, speed, power, you name it, he had it all.
Yeah, he was a really unique one. I mean, I remember watching him when I was younger, and just, he was amazing. And then all of a sudden, poof, bang. And it was like, I remember, I don't remember Gale Sayers, obviously. I'm not that old. But I almost put him in that category.
Oh, yeah. Very, very smooth and almost like lull you to sleep with that style of running. But, yeah, Gale, I've only seen tape, but Gale was something special.
Yeah, I mean, is that type of – is that like, that type of back that comes along that works like that? Is that all God-given talent? Did he work at it? How did he get to that? How did he get to that? I mean, you were around him, so I got to ask you about him specifically.
Well, it wasn't his diet. And, Sean, if you're listening to this, you know good and well you grew up on Doritos and Sour Patch Kids. So we know it wasn't your superior diet.
Right.
He was naturally strong, but where I give Sean credit for working hard was in the film room. Sean would sit in there and watch the mannerisms of DBs, the guys that would be responsible for tackling him, linebackers. And he would be like, okay, hey, all right, this guy, he's got poor hips. This guy has bad angles. This guy has bad vision. And he was so physically gifted and mentally gifted that you would see him running, like calculating, almost like he was on Madden, calculating the moves that he was getting ready to put on a safety based on the film that he watched.
Right.
And he would tell me, days in advance for the game, hey, this safety, he can't tackle in the open field. I'm going to give him this move. Oh, this linebacker here on pass protection, he can't do this. I'm going to do this to him. And it was like almost clockwork throughout the game. His film study would come to life, and then he'd just embarrass people.
Now, I know how passionate you are about America because we've spent time talking about this. It's near and dear to your heart, and you're a very passionate guy. Where does that come from, and where was that born out of?
I was raised with a Marine, and so I think I could probably stop right there. Right. My dad, his twin brother. Listen, I was the only Evans not to serve. People see me as like, oh, you in the military? Like they're going to give me free food at Chick-fil-A or something. I'm like, no, I was the only Evans not tough enough to serve in the military. But Dad he raised me with a great respect, honestly, in all areas of the people that came before me. So the NFL guys that paved the road for me, the military that gave me the freedom to play a game, to make the living that I made for all those years. And so we just grew up in a very God-honoring home as well as people-honoring. Dad taught me young that we are going to honor the people that serve us.
How did you feel about the kneeling?
Listen, it's always a tough balance between the thoughts that go off in my head and then the Christ-like character that I try to display.
Right.
I hated it. I hated it. I thought it was disrespectful. I thought it was hateful. And let's keep it really real. Collins said that, oh, this isn't about America. This isn't about this. Well, let's just, so that's what, 3+ years ago? And then what happens? Nike was getting ready to drop that flag shoe a few months back, and then he comes back and squashes that. So the problem is Collins was a liar, and he's full of crap. He hates America. His girlfriend that he was with, Muslim extremists, like we don't even need to go into all this stuff. But the history of this man is what it is. What he said it was is not what it was. Because now he's coming out against the American flag shoe that Nike wanted. He doesn't even know his history. So his true colors have been shown. I sat in the NFL Network locker room for better part of 2 years listening to Deion Sanders stories, Marshall Faulk stories, Michael Irvin stories. And so I'm always going to, even if I disagree, I'm always going to try to listen.
Right.
And I don't think those guys were making up those stories. So are there issues that need to be discussed? Are there issues that things need to get better? Of course. But are there issues on both sides where the black community really needs to see the side of the cops, see that these cops are out fighting for their lives? We're friends with a lot of SWAT buddies. We're friends with a lot of the people that have laid their lives on the line for our country. And so if you're not willing to listen, I don't have a lot of respect for you. You know, and so that's the biggest issue, I think, with a lot of the separation in our country is that people are not willing to listen and try to gain perspective from the other side of the fence.
Now, I know Dave won't even buy Nikes anymore. He refuses. But I know, Q, you're a black man unafraid. How did you feel about the kneeling?
I am black. When I look.
No.
I checked
Say it
this
ain't
morning.
so.
There he is.
I checked this morning. I'm
You
fully
still black?
Yeah, no, all jokes aside, Heath, it's funny because we had, I don't know, does he know Suresh?
No.
So
but I have multiple black friends.
So John knows a few black people.
Yeah.
So we had a guy named Suresh on a few weeks ago, black dude, real big in the 2A.
Yeah, 14 years in law enforcement and started his own tactical company.
And we got into it. And, again, I won't go all down the tangent like you were saying, Heath. I won't go down the alley, but he was speaking to the bigger issue, and John, you might want to send him a link so he can see it because it was a real good discussion.
Oh, he's watching.
And no, to Heath so he can see the talk. But basically, he broke it down like this, and it made so much sense, Heath. You got two issues in America, right, as far as black and crime and shit like that. So you have this one small segment where you got the law enforcement community where you got a few racist pieces of shit and a few sorry pieces of shit, and their bad interactions, right? But you got this huge issue of black-on-black crime. Nobody's doing shit about that. I don't see any marches. I don't see any people trying to, deal with that or kneel for that.
There's no money in
or
that.
anything like that. You see what I'm saying? Yep. But this major issue, we got some cops that are. So it's bull. It's disingenuous. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's that's that's kind of where I'm at.
Listen, I'm not a stat guy when it comes to football because you can skew a stat to make it be whatever you want. You really can. But when you dig into the stats of white cops shooting whites, white cops shooting blacks, black cops shooting blacks, black cops shooting whites, and then ratios. Obviously, we know there's a lot more white people in this country than black people, but the numbers don't support the issues that these people are fighting against. You know what I mean? And so, again, I'm not going to say that we don't have racist people in our country, but we do not have a racist country. We live and serve the greatest country ever known to man. And our history speaks for itself. There's sins in everyone's past. But at the end of the day, people aren't fleeing this country for other countries. They're fleeing their countries to come here for a good reason.
And there's a reason.
Yep.
Where'd Dave go? Did he run? Get me Dave back.
He ran out. He was saying that it wasn't streaming.
No, it's streaming.
It streaming on you?
I got it.
Yeah, that's what I told him.
Yeah,
Dave.
He's doing the crack again.
Yeah.
I wanted to get Dave back in because I wanted to talk about the backlash because I know him as a veteran. He will not even buy a pair of Nikes.
I get it
now. And I wanted to touch on that. The backlash is real. And I know Secret Service agents that will remain nameless because they're still in, and they won't even watch football. And it kills them because they grew up playing it.
Yeah.
How real has the backlash been from your. Well, Dave's here. So Dave, grab Q's mic. I want to explain your position why you won't buy Nikes now.
Oh, it's simple. Nike went anti-American on us. At the time that Nike pulled the Betsy Ross flag shoes for political reasons, it's not a flag first country. It's not a flag first company. And if they can't be flag and nation first and American pride first, address all the other issues that we need to. I understand addressing the other issues. They all need to be spoken about. The time you quit addressing the national issue, the national flag, the Betsy Ross, I'm out. I wouldn't even let my kids buy them.
Dr. Dave preaching in between bites of Icon popcorn.
I honor that position. You know, I really do.
Yeah, I mean, Heath, on your side, how real was the post-kneeling world in the NFL? Like, did you have people coming up to you, ask, what was some of that like?
I mean, I live over in LA, so I'd be down the the beaches of Manhattan Beach or 3rd Street Promenade shopping in Nordstrom with the girls. I would say that 95% of it was absolute hatred for the NFL and hatred for Colin Kaepernick. Again, trying to do the right thing. I would always try to deliver both positions because I was smack dab in the middle of both positions.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, people's true colors always show themselves. And, Dave hops on there for a second, and that's where Colin's true colors finally showed themselves. It took 3.5 years. But this was never about police brutality. This was about hatred for America. And he proved it by trying to squash that Betsy Ross flag, which, dude, Colin, go read some real history books, not what people are teaching you on the internet. I mean, heaven forbid.
Yeah, it's definitely a topic I wanted to touch on with you because I know you literally lived through it, working for the Shield and being a part of it.
Well, they barely would let me touch that stuff on air because they knew how.
Oh, of course. I mean, of course. They're not going to let you touch it, but it's something that definitely still gets discussed in our community and comes up a lot. And there's a lot of guys that they won't watch football anymore. If I bring it up, they're like, I don't even want to hear it. It breaks their heart. And I know guys, like I said, in some form of service right now, whether it's law enforcement, agency work, they won't even touch the sport anymore, and it's rough.
Heath, the big thing too that me and John talk about, man, and this is with anything, Heath, I'm sure you notice it's never what you say, it's how you say it. It's how you deliver the message, right?
Yeah.
Do I have a problem with him saying, hey, something's wrong here, da-da-da? No problem, because it's just true. But you don't deliver it by disrespecting, you know what I'm saying, the flag and you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
You don't do it that way. That's your right to step up and say the shit. That's part of the reason we have the flag. People fight for you to be able to say shit and say, stuff's not right.
Yeah.
But to do it that way where you're like, okay, I'm going to spit in the face of people.
I felt like he used the NFL and he used the Shield as a bully pulpit to get his point across. And that's where the issue I had was, and I wish, Roger would have stepped up and said, hey, none of this, kind of like the other leagues.
Well, he's a coward. Well, I mean, not like the NBA. The NBA, dear Lord, God help their souls. But listen, I'll just keep my mouth shut. I've got so much kind of boiling in my blood against the NFL, and I think it's just always better just to, instead of...
You've said it all.
Yeah, you just got to keep quiet. But my thing is, what was the movie where the guy was like, I said with all due respect. Like,
Right.
Yes. What was the movie? I'm drawing a blank.
No, I know what you mean.
But so Colin was screaming, like, I'm not doing this in disrespect, or we're not doing this in disrespect. Just because you say it's not disrespectful, to 98% of the American population, it was disrespectful because it was about our flag and about our country that offered him the very freedom to do what he was doing. So we can say what we want to say with the intentions, whatever, but just because you say it in a way, A, doesn't make it true. Just because you believe it doesn't make it true. And then C, listen, it was diabolical to say the least, but it is what it is.
Now, people drew comparisons of him to Tommy Smith in the Olympics. And the reason, and that's like the elephant in the room. And people say like Tommy Smith, and I say that's different. And I'll tell you why. I have a stance on that. It's different because, one, the time in the country was very different. Two, Tommy Smith still stood for the national anthem. He still got up and he stood, and he was proud to be an American at that time.
Yeah.
And if you talk to him, or he actually came out and he said, he's very proud to be an American. He was proud to be performing for America at that time. I think with Colin, people kind of get rose-colored glasses and they don't realize, and I'll give you the final word on it, but they don't realize he at that time wasn't even starting, I believe. He was now sitting the bench. And that's part of the issue. And Q, can you pull that? Can you look at it? Can you verify that? I believe he was sitting.
I'm trying to remember, too.
Who's that?
Kaepernick when he started the kneeling.
He was on the bench. He started the kneeling when he was on the bench.
Okay, yeah.
And the criticism I have with that is I think he was using it to draw attention to himself, obviously. I think that goes without saying. And I think he was using it, the Shield, as a platform to do that. I don't think the Tommy Smith comparison is accurate. I think there was tremendous civil unrest in the country at the time when Tommy did that, and I think him still standing for the national anthem, showing reverence, and he won the gold medal, I believe, at that point. So it wasn't like he had Colin. Let me play devil's advocate because I know it goes both ways. Had Colin won a Super Bowl and used his time on the mic to say, "Hey guys, we need to draw awareness to the minority community in this country, and I'm going to use my platform to draw attention to that, and I'm going to donate money, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that," and then done it, I think everybody would have respected it.
Oh, absolutely. You would have. You know what he would have done then? Mm-hmm. He would have isolated the true racist, because the true racist would have had beef with that, and the real Americans would have been like, "Hey, brother, we hear you."
Because I think comparing him to Tommy Smith or even Jim Brown or Kareem is not accurate.
Especially Jim Brown. You listen to Jim Brown speak now more than ever. He is so well educated on the facts. He is willing to call a spade in every community, and his perspective is very clear and at times neutral. And I don't agree with him on everything, but his unintimidated, unfearful nature to speak to the black community, to speak to the white community, and then to live it out, put his money where his mouth is, and to do it in a way where he literally is trying to bring communities together. That's why you love Jim. And so your point of even if he would have just taken the microphone post game and said, "Hey guys, I am trying to draw attention." Everyone like me, he would have rallied the troops. And the real racist would have had to stand up and been like, "Hey, it's me," because they would have been firing at him. And then he would have shown the world, "Hey, can't trust him, can't trust this group, but look at all these people that came to the rally to really help us in the areas that do need to be fixed."
And I think it's fair to talk about now. I think guys shouldn't feel a stigma having the discussion now. We're a few years removed. I mean, shit, even the government unclassifies documents after a while. Yeah. I think it's fair to put your opinion out there.
Hey, so he was starting. He was starting when he did it, and then he eventually lost out to Gabbert, and got benched. But that 2016 season, he was the starter. Yeah.
And there's no question he's getting blackballed now. But you reap what you sow. I mean, it's.
But can I give you the football perspective on that? Here's the thing: there's not too many people with Colin's talent. That being said, Colin is very talent deficient when it comes to playing quarterback. And this is where people said, "Oh, Heath, you're mother after racist, you're this, you're that." No, if I know one thing, I know football. You look at the San Francisco teams that he thrived with, best defense in football, best, if not the best, second best offensive line in all of football. You had Frank Gore. You had this coach named Brad Seeley, who's widely regarded as the best special teams coach in all of football. So you take every perfect piece of the puzzle and you build it around. And then, Harbaugh's your head coach that is going to design this offense that's never really been seen in the NFL for a long, long time. And you're going to kind of catch the world by storm, and you're going to beat all the bad coaches. And then when you get to the Super Bowl, you'll be a throw or two away from winning it. But really, you isolated Colin Kaepernick, the talent, and you made him play quarterback, which he couldn't do. Every time he played Seattle, here comes 3 interceptions. He couldn't see the field, couldn't read a defense. Am I calling him dumb? No, I'm just saying as a quarterback, you're judged by how well you see the field.
Decisions.
How is your mental accuracy under pressure? His was atrocious. And so people's like, "Oh, he's definitely one of the top, 64 quarterbacks in football." Okay, if you want to look at talent, that's fine. But if your starting quarterback is totally different than Colin, you don't want to back up like Colin, because then your offense has to completely change when your starter goes down. And so people refuse to look at the full pieces of the puzzle. Do I believe the NFL blackballed him? Absolutely. And more so than ever with the stuff that I've been through in the last couple years. But to say that every team should want Colin as their backup and every team should want him on their team, that's just nonsense, and that's people that don't know our game, that don't understand what they're talking about, and need to keep their comments on Twitter, have no clue really about life itself.
Great points. Great points. I love it. I mean, I think it's a debate that'll, rage on for a little while, and until the NFL fully recovers, it's going to take some time. I think everything you said is completely accurate. Let's, kind of stem into some other things with the NFL that we can get excited about.
All right. The Patriots.
Q, are you ready?
Hey,
Q.
I gotta ask.
Go ahead.
I gotta ask you, Heath, because you were there for 07, right?
Yeah.
Dude, how was that?
Here we go.
Part of that, man.
The hard-hitting questions.
Brutal.
Like when you were there, like did you guys realize what you were putting together? You know what I'm saying? Like
when we came together in March of that year, we knew we had the chance to be special, like real special. You never really know until your team morphs and builds into what it's going to be. And the one beauty about the New England Patriots team is we could always be a lot of different things on a given Sunday. And so as we started to see Welker and Moss mature and that defense, Adalius Thomas, and all the different pieces we had put together really come together with all the multiple personalities that defense could throw at you in a given practice, much less a given game, we knew we were going to be something special if we put in the work. And if we stayed injury-free. And so we were pretty blessed that year injury-wise. We grinded through the season. And as that pressure built, our team never blinked. And it didn't, I listened to Teddy Bruschi, I listened to Mike Vrabel, I listened to Brady, I listened to Bill talk about the pressure of that year. And it was obviously an enjoyable process for me, but the 18-1 mark, people's like, oh, you should have lost, week 8. Then you would have won the Super Bowl. That's just nonsense. Like we nobody knows. But more importantly than the awesomeness of that team, offensively, defensively, special teams, was the awesomeness of the men on that team and how subservient and humble that team was, constantly to lay down their pride for us to win ball games. Okay, I won't even play this week so our offense can have a better position against this defense. Okay, I'm going from a pass rushing linebacker on defense to being literally a nose guard on the defense for the team to win this week. The subservient mindset of that team for the team to thrive over self to thrive was the most beautiful thing I've ever been a part of in football.
Do you think they should fly the 16-0 flag?
No, I don't. Listen, the Patriots have reestablished what a championship mentality looks like. And so I think because we weren't the champions, we were not the best team on the field that day in February of 2008.
That's kind of always been a New England thing, though, Heath. Like the Celtics don't, hang their conference championships, whatever it is. They have like a thing, what I mean? And neither, the Bruins don't hang. That's like been a cocky New England thing. Like we don't hang division titles.
Why would you?
Yeah, you go to some places they do. Yeah. I mean, it's a thing
because that's all they have.
Yeah, that's all they have. In New England, you never see that. You went in the Garden. I mean, shit. If the Celtics hung their fucking Eastern Conference championships, there'd be no ceiling.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's bad enough they got 17 banners now, and then the Bruins kind of the same thing. But I want to ask you, about that season and about Bill in general. Is it so much has been written about Bill. Is it
most of it wrong?
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, when it's all said and done, now the debate has shifted to, is it Bill or is it Brady? I don't want you, because obviously out of respect for people still playing the game.
That's an easy question.
Who is it?
Both. Like, both of them will humbly admit they can't do it without the other. That's what teamwork is about. They also couldn't do it without Mr. Kraft being willing to spend the money that he spends. They also couldn't do it without the Mike Vrabels coming in there and completely shifting mindsets. They couldn't do it without the Vince Wilfork sacrificing his body week in and week out for all the years, literally not getting the praise that he deserved so that defense could dominate in the way it did. Right. Guys like Kevin Falk that never get the global shine that he deserved when Kevin Falk was probably the best third down back in the game. So people want to argue stupid stuff because people are selfish. But inside that organization, they could care freaking less. They want championships, and they will sacrifice everything personally to get it. And that's why my affection for Bill all the way down in that organization is such, because they constantly sacrifice self in stupid arguments for the betterment of the team.
Is AB going to get that shit done?
I know this. Bill Belichick does not play baseball. There's no 3 strikes. You get 1 strike. So the mindset was set for him day one. If he falls in line and is obedient to the Belichick way, I said the Belichick way, not the Patriot way, because it is the Belichick way, then he will thrive there. As we saw last week versus Miami, and it will only get better. But the moment that he says, I'm going to be AB first, is the moment that Bill will meet him at the door with his walking papers, and it'll probably be the last time that we see AB play in the NFL.
I think he makes it, and I'll tell you why. I think he makes it because, like we talked about over on the other side, when you go from the Raiders, no disrespect, it's kind of, like you said, if he can't do it in New England, if he can't fix his game in New England, and by game I mean his mental game, just get his shit together in plain English, every GM is going to be like, well, I mean, if they can't fix him, who can, kind of thing. And I think he knows that. Yeah. I think he has to be, like you said, you have a little bit of a personal relationship with him. I think he knows that, Heath. I think he knows this is kind of like, I need to get my shit together. I need to prove over the next year I can do it. And I think this is what I think happened. And you're gonna say, because I think Bill sat him down, and he said, you do it my way, and you'll win a ring. And all will be forgiven. And you'll be like a new person.
Half of that's true.
Okay.
Bill would never say you're going to win a ring. Bill would say,
I don't think he has to say it.
Right. Bill would say, here's your clear directives. If you fall in line, if you work hard, if you put the team first, we're going to build every single week, and I believe we can get better and better and better. That would be Bill's never going to talk about a Super Bowl that hasn't happened or one that has. Those trophies do not exist during the season. Those past 6 trophies will never come up once during the course of the 2019 NFL season. They will never look back, and they will never, ever, ever look forward more so than the week that they're on. And people are like, how do you do that? He just doesn't. He doesn't allow it in the building, because those little cancers become big cancers, and they eat teams alive. And so AB has his directives, and if he follows in line, then he'll be fine, and he will thrive, because everyone thrives when you fall in line there. So if he stays healthy and does what he needs to do, he'll probably be the greatest version of AB we've ever seen. He might not have the 1,400 yards receiving. He might not have the 100-plus catches, but it'll be the best version of AB we've ever seen.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think you touched on, I think that's what makes Bill great, is his ability to focus on the here and now.
Yeah.
I mean, he's worried about Thursday.
Yeah. Well, nothing else matters. How do those trophies affect anything about this team? They don't. They have no impact whatsoever. Last year's team was last year's team. This year's team, right now, it's a team with no tight ends, really. It's a team that's using running backs as wide receivers. It's a team that's going a lot of 4 wides. It's a team that's really trying to dictate their pace so they can keep their defense fresh, so they can have the best defense in football. It's a thing of beauty. And if they stay healthy, we might see a brand of football that the NFL's never seen.
It's powerful. I mean, where it goes from here and what happens this year, and I asked you this over there, taking them out of it, who are some of the teams you like this year and why? Pick your top 3 that you kind of, Dallas, we got to talk, let me go back to go forward because, okay, so Dallas is an intriguing one this year, but I think Dallas, that inability, that 2-headed monster, like you said, I think what makes Robert Kraft so great and that trio is his ability to be a founder, be an owner. And I think that's very hard to do. But start with Dallas, because Dallas is on everybody's mind. Because I'd love to see, selfishly, a Patriots-Dallas Super Bowl and see the Patriots become America's team by beating Dallas in the Super Bowl.
It could happen. I think it's a long shot. when I look at potential of teams, I'm always going to look at leadership. How is it structured? Is there multiple heads of leadership fighting for control, fighting for their voice, fighting to have their way? Is there one true, clear leader that has set the objectives for a team that everyone submits to that authority under it?
Right.
And the answer to all those questions in Dallas is no, not a chance.
Right.
You have a bunch of people talking. You have a whole bunch of messages coming out of their camp every single week from their locker room sound, from the owner, who is also the GM, from the head coach. Now you've got this kind of fancy offensive coordinator that's getting a lot of love and praise, and you're going to have all these people without one clear head. And so I'm a fan of Jason Garrett, the man. I hate the position that he's been in as a coach for a long time because he's basically has to do what the owner should do. Jerry has done some great things for our game, but Jerry is by no means the greatest football mind that should have control over that roster as well as that coaching staff, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I would never bet on Dallas when it matters to be able to put a game plan together and have a core group of men go out there and perform in such a way that's going to beat a true team-founded franchise.
It seems like the wheels always come off, though, right around the playoffs or right before. Why is that, Heath?
Because that's when the pressure breaks poor leadership, whether it's leadership on the field, leadership in the coaching staff, leadership in the ownership. And so the reason that pressure never gets to the Patriots is because there is one voice every single week basically establishing the rules for that week, what we're
setting
doing,
the tone,
how we're going to do it, what we say, what we don't say, what we're focused on, what we're not focused on, what we're building around, what we're not building around. And so therefore, when you have a clear objective, 53 men, another 20 on the coaching staff, head coach, ownership, it's very easy to avoid all the pressure and all the distractions because you have one rule of law. Well, most organizations have multiple rules of law. And so then a player like me who just wants to please authority, well, do I listen to the OC? Do I listen to the head coach? Oh, shoot, well, the wide receiver coach said this. You have dysfunction. And that's what you see on an average Sunday with the majority of teams in the NFL.
So taking the Patriots out of it, give me your top 3 organizations to watch this year.
Yeah, I mean, we're in week 3, so I am always going to go back to physical and mental toughness. So throw Baltimore in there. I think a team that plays well on special teams, a team that can smack you in the mouth on defense, and then a team that can run the ball is always going to have a chance when it matters. They have to improve. I think Lamar is a gifted quarterback. He has to continue to grow at the quarterback position if they are going to win anything of significance. Green Bay is interesting this year. I'm a fan of Mike Pettin, the defensive coordinator, and I think he will thrive until he gets matched up versus a Breeze if he gets back, or a Brady. An elite quarterback can give Mike Pettin and his defense fits, but Mike, with the talent that he has there in Green Bay, will cause a lot of trouble for a lot of teams that they're playing, and we've seen that early in this season. Listen, I'm a huge Andy Reid fan.
Can't win the big one, though.
Well, it's and a lot of times he gets matched up versus Bill, and so Andy can outcoach everyone
but
except
Bill.
for Bill. And so again, it's matchup oriented. I love the young man Patrick Mahomes. I love the athlete. I love the talent. There's just so much put on week in and week out for Andy to get that team in a position to play. I don't know if that defense is truly disciplined enough or good enough in Kansas City to beat a Baltimore the way it looks right now. We'll see what the next 12, 13 weeks offer us.
Yeah. I mean, I still say, and I said it in the beginning, I think it's going to be the Pats in New Orleans. I think Breeze comes back. I think he comes back a little quicker.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be 6 full weeks. I think they get a bye in there, and I still think they manage to eke out 10 wins or so.
Find a way to get in the dance.
Yeah, find a way to get there, kind of thing. Maybe they split it 3-3, and that's 6. But I don't think he's out 6. It's a throwing hand injury. I think he battles back. I think he's a 4-week guy, maybe 5 at the most.
We'll see.
He's a fighter, and I know he wants to get out there. And I think he smells it.
Yeah.
He's the kind of guy that smells it.
Well, and Drew's another guy that we always look at. Doctors will give timetables for all athletes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Drew's diet is flawless. His hydration is flawless. His sleep is flawless. His body will heal faster than most. And so doctors don't know how to quantify that. That being said, for Drew to do what he does, Peyton Manning, we lost the great Peyton Manning because of a nerve issue in his neck that affected his grip. And so what's scary about Peyton is, minus that nerve issue, he would still be in the league like Brady, dialing people up mentally with his mind pre-snap, delivering that ball on time, and you couldn't do anything about it. Because Tommy and Peyton never really beat people physically. They beat you with their mind and their arm. And so if that grip strength is off just the slightest little bit, it's going to affect the Drew that we know. Because Drew throws balls that nobody else should. Drew sticks stuff in windows, calls plays, pushes the envelope in ways that very few can. So that grip strength for him in the way that he plays, the way that we love that he plays, Drew's going to have to be 95% to get out there and be the Drew that can help that team win.
You know, I told John, Heath, to be honest with you, I don't know, man. I don't know about New Orleans because even before the injury, I told John last season, I was seeing, I don't know, man. The ball looked like that arm was dying a little bit, man, towards the end of last season, man. I don't know. I don't know.
I would say, Q, you've been listening to too many analysts that shouldn't be analysts. Listen, I remember it's probably been about 4 years removed. People are like, Brady can't throw the long ball. So me being me, what I do, I go to the tape, I break it all down, I put it all on there, and I put Aaron Rodgers side by side with these tapes with Brady. Brady's long ball percentage was better than Aaron. What happened was Brady had a couple balls that just looked bad. And then everyone pick up this narrative of, oh, Brady, he's losing it. His arm's getting weak. Oh, he's 38, 39 at the time. And this is what's so bad about political news. This is what's so bad about the day and age of the internet where everyone has a voice is people will pick up a soundbite that's just theoretically not true, factually not true. And so Breeze, I would argue, maybe had his second or third best year of all time last year. Brady, stat-wise, people always, well, what are his stats? Brady last year might have had his best year from a mental perspective of being the best quarterback he's ever been. And so that's the scary stuff for this league for guys like Drew and Tom is they are pre-snap read. They're beating you before the ball's ever snapped.
All right, John.
Interesting. It's interesting. This is a man who knows.
Breeze just called me, had a word for Q.
For a minute, I believed it.
You got more than one word.
No, but this, this is great having you because we're getting tremendous insight, and you're a guy who studies the game and studied it for so long, both in the locker room and on the prompter. So you get it, and you've been in the huddle, and that's a term we use a lot, even in this business. Have you been in the huddle? Have you served? Have you done any? Have you been through the process?
And can I stop you right there?
Yeah, go ahead.
If they haven't been in the huddle in your world, they have no business talking about it.
Well
and
said.
If you haven't been in the huddle in my business from a coach, management, scout, player, you have no business talking our game. Now, I couldn't say that in NFL Network because we had hired a whole bunch of people that were talented writers. I love the Mike Silvers, the Steve Weish, because they are super talented writers, but they stay in their lane. They're not breaking down game tape. They're not being analysts. They are great writers. They are great journalists. They are awesome at what they do. I love those guys. I'd go to war with them anywhere. But they stay in their lane. We've got so many people talking because they watch a game on TV and they think they know what they're seeing and they have no clue.
And they're watching it like a movie. I mean, listen, I watch games a little differently. I sit there with the clicker and I'll take it back and I'll be like, wow, look what they did there. That's really cool. That concept's really interesting. But a lot of that, in high school when I played ball, I didn't know shit. When I got out of high school, because I played during triple sessions and no water breaks, and it was just a tough guy game.
The good days.
The good days. When I got to college and played for Whipple and understood, UMass, it was a little different. You start to watch things differently, and you start to understand things, and I know a fraction of what you know. But I watch the game a little differently. I'll take tape back, and Q played ball, so he gets it. So we have a lot of fun, chopping it up and talking about it. But I agree with everything you said. It's top down. It starts internally and then goes externally. And just like you said, I'm a big advocate of never take anything away from somebody. If somebody served, I don't care if they were in the back of the lunch line, like Dave likes to say, they wrote the check. Okay, they wrote the check for everything up to their life. Well, if they served in a backward unit, that's it's okay too. If you went to an academy or you had formal training, then you have some experience. If you have operational experience, like a Tony or somebody like that, or Dom Rosso or some of those guys like Dom, that's different too. Everybody has their place. You have to know what you can talk about up to, but not beyond. And don't be afraid to say your opinion, but don't be afraid for someone to come along with a bigger stick and say, hey, here's how I see it.
Yeah, Q and I literally just proved this to the world. And if this relationship would be the example for everything, there's 1,000 things that Q could teach me on. And I would never once question his authority if it's something that I don't know. You know, but he said something about Breeze. He let me give my opinion. He's like, oh, wow, okay, good. And then it was like, oh,
professional dialogue.
Yeah, you know. But what we have is we have the prideful know-it-all day. I would never go to my freaking knee surgeon, Dr. Andrews, and argue with him. Oh no! Well, why you cut me that way? And why'd you remove that part of my meniscus? That'd make me a freaking moron. But that's what people do. They interject themselves into political conversations. They interject themselves into NFL football, gun conversations, national security conversations, presidential conversations. Have you even read any factual clips about what you're talking about? And the answer is like 99% in this world, no. People just want to hear their own voice. I don't talk about things I don't know about. I will sit and listen. I've been all over the country the last year sitting down with businessmen trying to figure out what's my next move. What am I going to rebuild? How do I reestablish myself at 40? Because I want knowledge. I want power, and that's where power comes from, is from knowledge.
And people ask me all the time why I started the podcast and why I gravitated towards this medium. And similar answer, I say, because Instagram is just photos. It's just, throw up what the highlight of the day, and it's not really an equal platform.
No.
It's not an equal platform. Here, you can have the dialogue, and the real comes out. And I'll talk about anything. I'll invite anyone. I've invited my worst enemies on. I'm like, come on. We'll talk about it.
I mean, that Q works for you, and you hate him.
Exactly.
Son of a bitch.
But it's, I thought, I sat down kind of like you, pushing 40, and I said, what is a platform I can really get the point across and really open the dialogue and have the conversation? And just in there, I got my answer, the dialogue. And being able to have adult conversations and push the medium and not be in a place where it was just the highlight of the day and let me post a photo, and if I look good today and I have abs and I turn a certain way, I'm going to get the likes, because 500 likes equals $0.
Yeah.
You have to go to a space where you can have an adult conversation, and that's what's lost today.
Yeah.
That's what's really lost. There's a lot of people that are social media superstars, but the reality is they can't get on a mic or they can't have a conversation. You're unique that you went to the NFL Network. You've been able to communicate. You're a conversationalist. You can have an adult conversation. There's not a lot of people that can do that.
Well, I like to listen as much as I like to talk. And I think, but I was taught that from my mom and my dad. I think we're all full of so many insecurities that we're scared to listen, because sometimes when we're confronted with truth, it makes us feel something about ourselves that we really don't want to have to dive into, whether it's something as stupid as a football conversation, or maybe it's something about how I parent my daughters. And hey, someone said something to me the other day. I'm like, oh my gosh, well, if that's true, then man, I'm really isolating Ava and Naomi when I discipline them in this way. And so I'm thinking to myself, man, I love these girls. I would give my life for them in a second. I don't want them to feel this way. But if I wasn't willing to listen, if my dad hadn't beat the crap out of me as a little kid and taught me to listen and not be an arrogant punk, I'd still be stepping all over my daughters to this day. But you got to be willing to be like, I don't know crap. Because most of the time in life, I don't know crap. The more I learned from Bill Belichick and Sean Payton, the more I realized I didn't know. And that's the thing about life. Most time, the more that we really seek wisdom and knowledge, the more we start to feel like, holy moly, I don't know much at all. And then I got people trying to teach me stuff that have never darkened the door of a college locker room, much less an NFL locker room, and it's mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, and as you get older, it's funny. You reflect and your mentors change.
Yeah.
What you look up to changes. It starts out with maybe the kid on the corner that had the cool car or whatever the fuck you were into. But you get older, and you brought up Bill and you brought up Sean. I look at guys, because I've been around this business for a while now, and I look at guys in branding and marketing and brand development. I look at people like Bruce. I look at certain folks that have influenced me and I talk to, and a lot of times I'll call them and say, am I crazy? Is this a crazy? You start to learn who you can bounce things off of and who you can talk to and who mentors and shapes you. Who are some guys you through the years mentor you and you've called upon for advice?
Well, I'm always going to start at home. And I know sometimes that turns people off because not everyone was blessed with the mom and dad that I have. And it's sad that we listen, my girls are growing up in a broken home. Never thought of that in a million years when I got married, but that's just life and the curveballs that get thrown at us. But my mom and dad set the tone for we are going to live what we talk.
Right.
We're not going to be hypocritical. I grew up in a very flawed, screwed up Christian home, but what I mean flawed and screwed up in the sense that my parents were fighting what they were teaching us, they were living. But we're all human, so we make mistakes. When they made their mistakes, they owned them in front of my sister and I. And so it taught me early on that, A, there's no demand for me to be perfect, but there is a demand for me to own my flaws and my imperfections. And then I was blessed to have some great coaches along the way. My high school coach really drove home to me the fact that leaders serve. My senior year, I was the one getting the water coolers. I was the best running back in the state of Florida, but I was the one kind of serving the team. And that has benefited me very much in life through some tough seasons. Auburn, I had some great coaches. No one has impacted me more than Bill Belichick, though, in the sense of strategic thought. This will strike people as odd, but powerful and humble leadership, Bill Belichick taught me more than anyone. People like Bill and humble, those two don't go together.
They do.
He's the most humble, subservient leader I've ever been around. And the proof is in the pudding every single year when he puts his team on the field of how they perform, because he has served them, he has outworked all of them, and that's the proof's in the pudding, so to speak.
I always say, Heath, life is what happens while you're making plans. You can have the best laid plan, but life is still going to happen. Things come up. And, the landscape's shifting around you, so you have to be, a little more fluid, okay?
Improvise and adjust.
And I joke, be like water. I always tell it, I looked at a buddy of mine.
Bruce Lee?
Yep. I looked at a buddy of mine on the range one time, and I go, he's a good friend of mine. I go, be like water, my friend. Be like water. So, one of the things I've sought out through the years is not just good leadership, but also my own ways of humbling myself. Later in life, I got into jiu-jitsu and things like that, and there's nothing like getting the crap beat out of you a little bit to kind of start to put you on that path of like, okay, I'm not the best, I'm not the greatest thing ever. And I think that's lost today. I think it's lost, and I'm sure that's something you instill in your girls, and I'm sure it's something that's important to you. We talked about this a little bit with Matt Brown, remember? And he came right out and said it. He's like, I've had to give my kids a beating sometimes, and I think that's lost today. And I want to ask you, because you're definitely somebody through the years I've looked up to in many ways, the way you carry yourself, the way you carried yourself through situations. What is it about the society we're in now? People talk about millennials. How are we here? How do we get to this point?
I have a very clear-cut answer. It's not always the most popular one. People hate truth. People run to darkness instead of running to the light. Light always exposes who and what we are. So as a leader, when I step in front of an Eric Anderson from Topgolf, the owner and CEO, if I step in front of a Jordan Rubin, the former owner of Garden of Life, now owns Ancient Nutrition, is building another, billion-dollar brand in the nutritional space. When I step in front of them with my leadership skills, their bright light shines on me. It reveals how deficient I am. Mm-hmm. And so we live in a world where people don't run to truth. They don't want to have to self-reflect on all our deficient areas.
They stay in a safe space.
They run to the darkness, because there we feel safe, but we're also miserable in the darkness too, because we're like, we want to do this better, but we're not willing to ask for help. So parents started not disciplining their kids. We grew up in a yes society. I have this thing called vitamin N. Like, I'll tell the girls no just to tell them no, so they can learn how to handle being told no. And it might be something as simple as, hey, can I have that bag of chips? There's no reason why they can't, but I tell them no just to teach them to handle no. So you mentioned being humbled on the jiu-jitsu mat. There's physical pain in that. The Bible talks about spare the rod, spoil the child. Mm-hmm. So we have, again, I'm not going to beat people over the head with the Bible, but this sucker, I don't care if you want to talk about the earth being flat.
It's a good book.
Whatever it is, all your answers are in there, people. From leadership, I always joked around with Bill Belichick. I'm like, I know you got all your leadership stuff from your dad. Your dad got it from the military, but guess what? The military back in, the early stages of our country got it from the Bible of how to go to war. And so you talk about certain people, and millennials, I don't even know what age group that is, but I know when people stop being disciplined, physical pain teaches us lessons. When I would mess up on the field, most of the time it cost me physical pain. And so then guess what? I ain't making that mistake again. And so we live in a society that doesn't want truth. And so therefore they're constantly afflicted with pain. You got to medicate everything. You got to drink yourself to death. You got to, set it. You're doing everything you can when if you would just step into the light, ask for help, And then all your deficiencies, the exposure process is painful, but then it's freeing. So if you go through the pain of being on the jiu-jitsu mat, you experience some pain, but then you learn the lesson. And then the next time you're there, you're more free to move in your gifted athletic self on that mat. But there's a process to getting free. People don't want to pay the price to the process of getting free.
It's well said. Now, how do we fix it?
Listen, it's something that I'm asking myself every day. Obviously, my story has significantly changed, but I've always had this. I want to love people. I don't have all the answers. I have very few, but I know the times in my life where I've thrived. They have been a place that has been based on truth, and I've been trying to love God and love people. And so my heartbeat at this stage in my life is like, man, I don't want to waste the next 40 years of my life.
Yeah, time becomes the commodity.
Well, yeah, and I just don't want to do something that just makes money. Or, sure, we all need it. We all want to thrive. I want to make a lot of money because I want to give it away. I've got a goal before I kick the bucket to give away $100 million. People are like, what? Well, yeah, because those are the things that move me, But the process of fixing something always is going to start with ourselves, on Monday, I was sitting down with like a family friend of ours trying to learn how to communicate better with my daughters, because it's important to me how they grow up, how they see themselves, how they believe in themselves, how they know that I love them. And I know that they communicate different than me, but we got to be willing to ask for help. And I don't know how we push people to that marker. And so my whole kind of built ready brand that I'm just finally figuring how to massage to get my message across is that we got to be willing to work for what we want, but we got to work in the right direction. Because if we work hard and we're 5 degrees off from the truth, you get down the road 5 years and you're so far from the truth, it's not even funny. You're still dysfunctional. So I don't have all the answers, but that's what I'm trying to figure out is how do we love people to push people to truth so that we can really just help set people free?
I think in reality, I think people should be nicer. I think I see a lot that goes on social media, and I see the way people just you're talking a lot about humbling yourself to ask for help. And I think people should be nicer and people should be more receptive. And this is an unpopular theory that you're talking about, asking for help. And the reason it's unpopular is because I think a lot of people spend a lot of time fighting the natural course of life. And the natural course of life is you can never do anything as one person. I can't run this show as one person. You can't raise your daughters as one person.
Yeah.
You can't do it alone. Now, you have to have help. Everybody constantly has to ask for help. Why do we fight that so much? Sometimes some situations, they just don't work out. And we fight that, oh, well, fuck them, and she was this, and he was that. It just didn't work out. Sometimes there's no rhyme or reason to it. Sometimes some relationships don't work out. I was a very young CEO. I was thrust into a leadership position with 2 brands, with 2 companies, really 3. I was in charge of my own company. I traveled around. I give companies advice. I try to give them new ways of looking at things. I'm constantly asking for help. I'm constantly asking people to come on the show and talk to me. And it's not easy to do. A lot of people, I can't do this alone. And I know that. I need help from you. I need help from Mike tomorrow. I need help from, Max next week. I need help from everyone. And I think people have this fear of just the simple thing. I can't do it alone. I can't get lunch alone, And I think that's what people have to come to the realization and be at peace with that. Without Q, I can't do this. Can't do it. Without Dave, I can't do this. You need everybody to kind of buy in. And it's just comes back to even the roots of what Bill teaches you in New England. One position is not supreme over all others. Now, you can make a case about quarterback and all that and how many times a person touches the ball, but still.
Brady needs me.
Yeah.
I might only play 17 snaps, but he needs those 17 snaps to be flawless. Otherwise, he gets busted up and gets hurt.
So if I can take my crack at answering that question, it's a simple answer to me. You cannot do it alone. And time becomes the most precious commodity. You can't buy it, and I've never seen a Brinks truck at a funeral parlor. You can't take it with you. So realize that, and realize that lightning quick.
Yeah. Well, you said it all. You got to be willing to humble yourself and ask for help.
And that to me is where it's at. Now, How it gets fixed in society, I don't know. But it leads me to the next point. I want to get your thoughts on it. You know, social media is becoming a big thing. It's a big thing with AB. It's been a big thing the last 15, 20 years of our lifetime. It's only going to get bigger. How do you feel about social media? I mean, you got to raise 2 girls in this. Like, how does social media, you know, affect you, and you know, how do you process it all?
Well, it's different because obviously this day and age, when you're trying to build a brand, you're trying to establish something, you almost have to play the social media game. I'm not really good at playing games. You know, you look at how Instagram is set up. You know, they reward you for being on it. They reward you for posting every day. They reward you for commenting and living your life around their structure. I'm never going to do that, you know? And so this is where I have the benefit of, you know, I just believe God sets up kings and rulers. And so I'm not going to limit myself to what Instagram says I have to do to build my brand. I believe that my transparency, my humility, my honesty with all my flaws and all my mistakes, as well as my successes, will eventually draw people to me, and I'll build my built-ready family where I can impact men and impact family and impact lives. But you mentioned the girls. We live in such a sexualized society. I'm very, very cautious. My 15-year-old has Instagram. My 12-year-old doesn't have it yet. And my 12-year-old might not have Instagram when she's 15. She's built different than my oldest. My oldest understands and is very perceptive and discerning to the ways of the world. My youngest is very loving and trusting and wants to please people. And so I guard her differently than I guard Ava. Doesn't make one better than the other. But it is a focus of mine to wisely use it in my home. And it does become a distraction for me at times. I'm not one that looks at the lives of others because I've been around the block enough to know that what everyone's posting there, I'm like, most of these people, and I'm just going to keep it real, are hypocritical, and this is their highlight show when really their life is probably a low light reel. And that sounds harsh, but I've been around the wealthiest people in the world. They're the most miserable. I mean, when I got to New England, you know, Tom Brady had just got done doing a 60 Minutes interview. And if I could put a Cliff Notes version to the interview, now this is back in 2005, he basically said if money, women, and Super Bowl rings were all this world had to offer him, he was in trouble because he wasn't happy. Now he's got 3 more rings. He's got a beautiful wife. He's got more beautiful kids. He's got a lot of things. And but we live in this world that we always want what we think we need to be happy. And none of those things are ever going to satisfy our soul. And so I don't buy the lie of social media. You know, and I'm trying to train my girls in that way too, to be joyful and to be content in every season of life where we're at.
Yeah, no, that's well said. I mean, it's all about the seasons, and you go through these seasons of life, and you know, I've come to peace with being as open as I can be with people within reason. You know, I think Instagram's flawed. You know, Jay and I had talked about this color. I think Instagram's tremendously flawed because it's owned by Facebook, and Facebook fucked up Facebook, and they're going to screw up Instagram. But you're betting on how much somebody is willing to swipe down. And I think that's going to be one of the failures of the platform. And not only that, it's set up for the best part of your day. And that's what I tell everybody. You know, it's just somebody's just posting the best part of their day. You coming in here is the best part of my day. Hanging out with you, getting a chance to lift some weights, whatever, grab a little lunch, that's the best part of my day. I'm going to post that, and that's going to be it. But I might go home and, you know, I mean, pun intended, I might, you know, attach jumper cables to my, you know, my bathtub and might want to, you know, electrocute myself. You don't know what somebody goes on behind the scenes. You know what I mean? So everybody's different. Now, I'm not going to go and do that, but I might take an extra trip to the buffet on the sneak.
I'll go with you.
Yeah. But, you know, it's one of those things. People don't understand, you know, what the platform really is used for. And at a young age, this is what I'm getting at. At a young age, they have to be able to process that. And they have to understand what that is. And when you're building a brand on there, it's a business. You're building a business on there. And it's a good thing for awareness, but I've gravitated more and more as I've gotten older to the YouTube and to the podcast platform, because I can come out here and I can not only be real, I can articulate my feelings, I can say what's going on, I can put things out there a little differently, what I feel is closer to what's real.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why I've moved to this platform, and that's why I'm a big fan of YouTube, and I know Jay is too, because he's doing the JTV, he's doing that stuff, and he just said to me, he goes, I'm not willing to bet my business on how much someone's willing to swipe down. Yeah. I'm just not willing to do that. He said, I'd rather put content out there that people can search. If they want to search chest workout, they can find, my training. If they want to search nutrition, they can find my training. If they want to search me, they can find all the stuff that I've put out there. And I felt like, for me at least, that this platform was, hey, you want to find out anything about me, go out. There's hours and hours and hours of tape. There's plenty to find. I'm not hiding. Yeah. This is certainly the furthest thing from that. But it's tough. It's such a tough society right now, especially to raise little ones and have them, come up in it. But you're living through it, and you'll be able to take those lessons learned into it. I want to talk to you a little bit about training, because we're getting long. I mean, what are we, 80 minutes in, Q?
It's Q's fault.
Yeah, we're getting long. So
he's asleep back there.
Yeah. I want to talk about training for a second, because training has been near and dear to you, and you have the new brand, and you get a lot going on, and you're always training with Mikey. How important is training to you, and why continue the journey? Because I've heard like Tony Saragusa be like, when I was done playing football, you'd have to pay me to lift weights. Why still carry the torch?
Well, for me, it's simple. It's what I've always done. I always try to watch people and figure out what works and what doesn't work.
Right.
Most people, when they retire, go to one extreme or the other. They either balloon up in weight or they go way down in weight. Both end up kind of having the same problem. Their bodies all kind of end up hurting. And they're like, well, why when they lose all the weight, why would their body hurt? Well, if you think about, if you lose all the muscle that's held those beat up joints together for all those years, what's holding those beat up joints together? Nothing. So what I kind of inadvertently thought about doing was like, I'm just going to stay the same.
Sure.
Plus, I got 2 daughters. So when them dudes come to the door, I'm going to be in my underwear looking jacked as all can be. No one's going to want to date my girls.
There you go.
So all is good. You know what I mean?
Now you hit a chord with Q.
Yeah, So, but I love the training process. I love the competition with the weights. I love the smack talk in the gym with whoever I'm training with. Like Michael O'Hearn and I go at it when we're together. Especially when it's just him and I, man, those battles are like, they are epic. I mean, we filmed leg day last Sunday that when people see it, people are like, oh, they're going to be so jealous of the friendship that we have, of the competition that we have, and just the mentalities that we've developed over the years. And so those things are important to me. I'm a personality that needs that physical aggression every day. And so it's not healthy for me to bind up all my testosterone. I mean, I need to let that sucker go. But that was probably the main reason. And now it'll be part of a brand moving forward, because I believe a healthy soul and a healthy body go hand in hand. Like if we got this healthy body, but our soul is a wreck, we don't ever get to enjoy the body, and then we probably end up destroying the body with drugs and alcohol and women. Who else knows like what we're beating this body down with? But if we have a healthy soul and we're fat and out of shape, then our healthy soul is capable of helping people, but we've got no energy, we're lethargic, we're just a fat piece of crap. So I think they're both go together to create the optimal male to thrive in this life, to love people, and to impact people's lives.
For me, the blessing has been being able to travel and train with so many great people. I look back and I always say like, I'm like a reluctant weight trainer. I went through phases. I was sponsored by a bunch of companies, lifting weights, doing that. And then I said, I'm done with this. And then PJ called me at Blackstone to come back, and I say, just when I'm out, I'm back in, and I come back into the fold and do it for a couple of years. But I'm at a point now where I'm super comfortable with, just kind of, supporting some brands I enjoy and I like Icon and certain brands out there that I've worked with through the years, and just, get out there and I look at guys like Mike and even you, even though we're closer in age, but I look at Mike and I'm like, that motherfucker. I'm like, if he's 100,
yeah,
I love you, Mike, but
we think he's 50.
Yeah,
no one's ever seen the birth
he's got
certificate.
Like a Cuban birth certificate.
Yeah.
He's got one of those cooked birth certificates, and I come in here and and just kind of having now like Q getting back into it. It's one of those things. We push each other. We try to stay in condition. And, I'm like, I got to stay on top of my game, because, I'll wake up and I'll call Tony and it'll be like 5 a.m. my time, 8 a.m. his. And he's like, you up? I'm like, I'm on my way to the gym. I got to get my walk in. Or I'll text Stan and I'll be like, you love that pressure. that's a good pressure.
Accountability.
That accountability that comes with it. And it's kept me, on the grind, so to speak. And I've incorporated the jiu-jitsu and different things, like I said, through the years to kind of get my cardio and keep my body moving around and doing different things. One thing I've put a focus on is getting, like you talked about, staying the same, is I've put a focus on being more limber as I've gotten older, a little more flexibility. And that's why the jiu-jitsu's been great. And trying to stay a little bit looser, and not be as heavy on my feet and just feel a little bit better. I haven't lost, I went from 250 down to like 225, 230. That's kind of where I like to live and breathe, and I feel the most comfortable now. You look at what Tom's doing. I mean, the diet and just getting leaner and things like that. Do you think that's contributed tremendously to his longevity?
Absolutely. I mean,
no doubt.
The guy's faster, at 42 than he was at 23 when he came into the NFL.
Right.
He's more mobile in the pocket now than he was 20 years ago. That is diet. That is work ethic. That is foot speed, athletic agility. Ballistic stretching. That's all work ethic being put into practice for him to achieve what he has achieved. So,
yeah.
Listen, and the flexibility stuff, we're all born in different ranges of the flexibility chart. For me, it's important because it just makes me feel better.
Yeah.
I do it while I'm lifting because I can kind of knock it out at the same time. I don't need to go through the type of warm-ups that I did when I was playing, but they're similar to that, and they make all the difference in the world in how you sleep, how you recover, and how much weight you lift. Sure.
Q, you listening to music in there?
He's asleep on us again.
I got the 300 going there, man.
Jesus Christ. We've said so much. I mean, we've covered a ton. We're 90 minutes in. I don't want to drag it out. Where can everybody find you, and what do you want to plug? Plug all the brands. Let's plug everybody and let people know where they can find you. Q, pull up his IG and everything.
Well, it's simple for me. Right now it is literally just Instagram. There is a YouTube. Everything is at Heath Evans 44. Icon Meals. Listen, if you are looking to just help discipline your diet, if you're looking to just help structure your nutrition, go to iconmeals.com. My code's HE44. It'll save you 10%. But if you're looking for help in that nutritional world, if you're trying to get back on track, start there. You might spend a little extra money because of shipping, but what you spend extra there, you'll save when you don't go through the line of McDonald's or Burger King or Wendy's or Taco Bell when you're cheating on your diet. So structure's everything. Built Ready is a mindset that we have to work and fight and scratch and claw for everything that we get. No one is born ready for anything of significance. The ladder you've climbed, the ladders I've climbed, they've been built on hard work, work ethic, discipline, humility, chasing success, chasing information, chasing knowledge, chasing truth. And so the mindset of the Built Ready thing that I am gradually building is healthy souls, healthy bodies, combining that faith and fitness world, encouraging men to be built ready for every challenge that marriage will throw at them, every challenge that life will throw at them, parenting, you name it, men. We've got a lot of pressures on our back. We need to encourage each other. We need to build each other up in truth, and that's the goal of what I am gradually building with the Built Ready mindset.
I love it.
Those tank tops are for you, Q. You see those ones at the bottom.
We got to get you in one of the crops.
The white one.
Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah. you could be like Cam Newton. We can do a fashion thing.
Sheesh. That's not even fashion. God, can we just pray for Cam Newton right now?
I know.
Lord, we don't know what that fashion is.
I mean, he looked like an Ewok in that last press. I mean, come on.
I mean,
what's going on there? What's happening?
That's toxic masculinity right there. When you see Cam Newton dressed, that's toxic masculinity.
We need another hour for that. But I want to thank you for coming in. I can't thank you enough. It's been it's been so much fun just rapping and just shooting the breeze. But no pun intended, Drew. But I appreciate you coming down, sincerely.
No.
And it means the world for you to take the time. And I'm looking forward to grabbing a great workout and hanging out. I want to thank everyone at KVAR. Thank KVAR.com. Remember to go to KVAR.com. Remember to get some freedom. I appreciate everybody out there. I appreciate everyone in the booth. Q, thank you. And
Stud.
we are out.
Take us out.